take the life or causing any bleeding or any killing. So all of this cannot be done. We cover this as well. Killing ants, flies, mosquitoes cannot be done on Shabbos unless it is a mosquito that is fatal. They have the tsetse fly and the Nile mosquito. They brought malaria. They brought other diseases, which was sometimes fatal. So therefore, that could be eliminated on Shabbos. The same would be someone who is allergic to a bee sting, and it could be also very serious. Then they also could do whatever is necessary. The first thing would be to trap it. If that cannot be done, then you are permitted to kill it on Shabbos. The same thing as an animal that has rabies, where it's a danger. So that too could be either trapped. In other words, the first thing we would do is trap it, and then the second thing is eliminate it. Yes?
Last class, you said that there's a difference between trapping for an animal and then a cat has another category for trapping.
Oh, the domesticated animals that listen to you, you tell them, go into the room. When they go into the room, you're allowed to close the door because they are always under your control.
And they go in,
Mhm.
like if you're they go in.
Is it yours?
My roommates.
I'm saying, but it's a cat that is, it's a domesticated cat. It's not a cat from outside.
Right.
So it's a cat that's inside and it listens to instructions. So if you say, go into your room, it goes into its room. So if you trained it, so someone should train it all week. So when you tell them on Shabbos to go to your room.
What if it goes into the room now when you say go to the room, but when you like get close to it, it runs into the room?
I'm saying so you're not. I'm saying this is a domesticated. It's sort of it's under control. It's not something that you. Yes, I mean, you're saying it's not something that you have to. It's not something that is uncontrollable, and you want to control it by trapping it. An undomesticated animal wants to be free.
Okay.
When you are trapping it, you're closing the door. You're limiting its freedom. But domesticated animals that usually listen to instructions, they are considered already trapped. You're not trapping them because they are already under your control. Trapping would be controlling them. They are controllable. You tell them to go, they listen to instructions, then it's fine. You can close the door. Then we have, as far as insect repellent is concerned, if it is, if it's not something that kills the insects, but it's something that repels them, that could be used on Shabbos. The same is also to put insect repellent on one's body as a liquid or as a spray. That also could be done on Shabbos. Blood tests, again, this would be letting blood. That would be going to the category of slaughtering. So a blood test, if it's something that is optional, then it should be done after Shabbos. This is on page 251. Causing bleeding. This is something that cannot be done on Shabbos. So not the scratch. Again, scratching, causing bleeding. There are people who have these itching, where they have these skin sores and then scratching and causing more bleeding. That cannot be done on Shabbos. One has to do something. So there, one could wear gloves, will not cause bleeding. And one has to be aware of the situation before Shabbos to deal with it. Removing a splinter could be done, but not to cause bleeding. Let's see. Okay, this we spoke about, stinging animals, not to kill it, grasp them, take them away. Okay, so we actually covered this. Next malach on 255, skinning, the next part after the animal was slaughtered, the skin was removed, taken off the hide. And we have the tolda, which is the hide itself is a very thick and it has an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer is called parchment, the inner layer is called chsustos. We actually use that for the making of the Torah. tefillin, mezuzahs, they are written on parchment that comes from kosher animal skin, and there is a special way of separating it, which does not apply to us. Removing page on 256, removing the skin of a cooked chicken. After it's cooked, then it's food. Therefore, what do we consider it? People who do not like the skin, what would it be? Borer is separating. So we would treat it as peeling banana. Are you allowed to peel a banana on Shabbos?
Yes.
Even though you're taking away what you don't want and leaving what you do want, you want the banana. So is that permissible to peel on Shabbos? Why is it permissible? Because you're going to eat it. Okay, when can you peel the banana? Right before eating. So since you are separating what you to make the food edible, to make it possible to be eaten, it could only be done when you're ready to eat. So if you are making a fruit salad, you're going to have bananas in the fruit salad and also other fruits, oranges. You want to peel them, grapefruit, you're putting it all in the fruit salad, and you're going to be serving it at the end of the meal. The meal is going to be with a lot of Dvar Torahs and a lot of singing, and the fruit dessert is going to be served at the end of the meal after 2 hours into the meal. When can you prepare the fruit salad?
Before the meal, right before the meal.
Right before the meal, right. Even though it's going to be 2 hours later than it's actually going to be eaten, but you could prepare all the foods that you want at the beginning of the meal, so that when you start the meal, you do not have to take breaks in the middle. But again, right before the meal, that is when you make the preparation of the peeling of the fruits and vegetables. Okay, so now when we want to remove the skin of a cooked chicken, we consider that just like the peel, and you will do it when you're ready to eat. If you're serving a child, you want to, so you can do that in the beginning of the meal because it's going to be eaten during the meal. For an adult, they would take it off as they're eating. Okay. Now the next malacha was 257, which is tanning. After the animal was, the skin was removed, now we have to have the tanning. This malacha is called ma'abed, tanning, and making the leather into a useful item. So let's look on 257. So tanning there are 2 parts to it. One is that you're going to make it so that it should be preserved. So leather, when you take the hide, if you let it, it's not going to be in any way able to be used. So you put it into salt, and that takes out the moisture, and it makes the leather possible to be used. So you have three steps in the tanning. Firstly, it's soaked in a salt lime solution, and that preserves it. Then You also add different chemicals, which hardens it. And then you also have to lubricate it to smooth it, to make it soft, supple. Matters what you're going to be using it for. So if you want to make gloves, if it's going to be the way the hide is taken off, you're not going to be able to close your hand. It's going to be stiff. So you have to make it so that it should become softened. The belts, leather jackets, all of these have to be softened. So there's one process. And then you also have to harden it to begin with when it's coming off, that it should be able to, let's say if you want to make leather shoes, you want to make the soles. So you want to harden it, it should be strong. So these are all part of the tanning process.
You make leather softer with salt?
No, that hardens, that takes out all the moisture, that makes it possible, that preserves it.
Oh.
The salting preserves it. It should not become spoiled or. And then so let's look at what they have over here on page 257. You have the stepping on the hide to harden it. Right now they have rollers for that. In the old days, they used to put it in a certain place where people walked. People would trample it and walk on it, that would harden it. Then you have softening it with your hands, and then they're stretching it and straightening it. These are all part of the tanning process. So let's see if they have it here. So we have, someone goes outside, there's a rain, there's a snow, your shoes become soaked. What would you normally do in the weekdays to make sure it doesn't shrink? Anything?
I do.
This is called a shoe tree. Put into the tree, put into the shoe, and then you close this, and it keeps it stiff. So, are you allowed to use this on Shabbos? It matters what your intention is. If you came in from the rain and you don't want your shoe to shrink, so this is going to stretch it. If your shoe is dry, you just wanted to keep its shape, so you put it in, and it's just keeping the shape. It's not doing and changing anyway the shoe. So if your intention is just to keep it in shape, so then you are allowed to use this on Shabbos. If its purpose is to stretch the shoe, it shouldn't shrink, then you are, part of the tanning process was to stretch it, to keep it to a certain length. So if I would say a shoe tree, I don't think anyone would know what I'm talking about, would they?
Do you have it with you?
Huh?
Do you have it with you? That was it.
This is it. This is it. It's the shoe
Oh,
tree.
right.
This is it. It's in, and then when you adjust it to what the size shoe that you want to stretch. Once you close it, it really stretches it out.
Wow.
Now, how does it? Okay. Okay, I have here. You have 3 steps. One is called curing. It's called they put it in solution, draws out the moisture. It inhibits decay. Then comes the tanning. Should not to strengthen it. You put in different solutions. Then the finishing of the leather is made soft by putting oils. You have the as you would do to the upper shoe, it should be supple. The clothes, the belt, the gloves, and that is so doing these things on Shabbos is forbidden. And how does it apply to us? So you can't oil your leather shoes or belt or anything of that sort to soften it. if it shrinks, to stretch it. Again, because you have your gloves that came in that are wet, you can't stretch them. Now, how else does it apply when it comes also to foods? The Rabbanan transfer the process of preserving to foods as well, and changing the composition, just like the salt changes the composition of the leather. Also, the salt changes the composition of different vegetables. So, how would it apply when you're making a vegetable salad? How does this malach apply to vegetable salad? So what does the salt do to the leather? Drew out the moisture, it changed the composition of the leather itself, the hide. So what happens if you take the salt and you put it on lettuce or on radishes or on onions, on garlic? What does it do to these vegetables? Cucumbers, what does it do to them? Yes, it does. It draws out. If you'll take, I guess we'd have to make it. We'd have to make an experiment. Well, if we were to take lettuce and salt them well, let them stand in a bowl, you should get a collection of water or liquid at the bottom of this bowl. How did that happen? If you would have let the dry lettuce in the bowl without the salt, it would remain dry. In fact, you put in salt, it drew out the moisture. If you take the salt and put it on different vegetables, it takes out the sharpness. So if we put on salt on garlic will not be as sharp. Put on onions, it will not be as sharp. It will also draw out some of the liquid of the onions. So these vegetables are being changed by the salt. So how does that translate when you're making a salad, a vegetable salad? It does have the radishes and the onions and the lettuce. So you have an option: either serve it without salt, then you have no issue, but you do want to salt it. So what do we do? Were you told how to make a vegetable salad with salt on Shabbos?
You salt it immediately before eating it?
Okay, that would be, in Europe, you used to have a salt dish. And people would dip the vegetable and eat it as they're eating. That used to be a European way of eating. Everyone had a little salt dish. Does anyone still do it? Okay, what kind of vegetables is that?
I think I've only seen it with parsley. I don't think it counts.
Parsley, okay, I'm just saying, but it's still something that is in practice. Okay, but we don't want to do it that way. So what is the other way that's done? Who has been helping make salad in the kitchen on Shabbos?
How we make it? We make the sauce before and then we add, like we make whatever needs to be.
There's nothing wrong. The salt itself is not the issue. We're not going to make a salt solution. What is the issue? The issue is we're putting salt on vegetables that's going to draw out make a change in the composition of this vegetable, which is similar to tanning isur de rabbanan.
Put the oil first.
Okay, we're going to break the strength of the salt by adding another liquid. Either it's going to be the oil, or some people will add vinegar, or some people would add water. So what we're trying to do is break the strength of the salt, so it's not going to be doing the change in the composition of the vegetables.
So you can never put salt on vegetables on Shabbos without anything else.
Right, unless you don't eat it immediately, as you're going along.
So you have to you have first put the salt in the water and then you add the salt in the water.
No, you're not making salty water. No, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing, no, we're doing is we're going to have a vegetable dressing. We're going to dress the vegetable salad, put a dressing on, and then we're going to salt it. That would be or if you do it immediately, you could put the salt on before it has a chance to do anything and put the dressing on right away. So we're going to have a dressing with the salad. Unless you're going to have a salad without any salt. But if you want to have the salt, you're going to have a dressing with it. You can make whatever dressing you want to have.
On your plate, if you're gonna eat it, you can. put salt on your
As
vegetables.
you're eating,
No.
as you're eating, as you're eating. Okay. So now we have another item that's very similar to this on page 259, something that's very similar to the tanning, which is preserving the item. And that is by, what do we do with cucumbers? We want to preserve them, we pickle them. So you have the pickling spices that we add to a liquid, and that's going to, sometimes we use it in a brine, salt water. That's some of the, they have the pickles that are saltwater brine pickles, and then you have the ones that are the other types of pickles with different types of preservatives. So pickling on Shabbos cannot be done. So you can't put in fresh cucumbers in a pickling solution. What happens if you took a pickle out of the, so pickles are already been changed from cucumbers, we have now pickles. So you took out a pickle from the jar, which has all the pickling solution in it. And by the time you get it, it's already a finished product. It's been already pickled. So you have the different, let's say you have the garlic, you have half and half, you have the different semi, and you have all the different types of pickled cucumbers that I'm using that as an example. So the pickles, they have all different kinds of picklets. So now you took out a pickle from the pickle jar. You took out 3 and you want to put 1 back. Can you put it back into the pickle jar on Shabbos?
If it's already pickled,
Hmm?
if it's already pickled, you can.
Okay, very good. So if it's already pickled, putting it back, it's not going to change it in any way. It's already been, it's in the form of it that it's going to remain is pickled. And therefore, putting it back into the jar is not going to change it anymore. Therefore, you are permitted to do that. Salt water, we had that in Pesach. Everyone was recommended for Shabbos to make the salt water before the Seder and making a strong solution, which usually is used for preserving, cannot be done on Shabbos. The ratio would be 2/3 salt, 1/3 water. That's a very, very strong solution. So cannot make that ratio of the solution on Shabbos. So those who were making the salt water, so it had to be less concentrated. So how was the Seder? How was did anything happen this year for your Pesach experience? What different than other years? It just was there anything different this year than other years? Anything that stands out in your mind over Pesach? Same experience?
Burning the chametz the day before.
Burning the chametz, okay, that's where was it burnt?
In fact, I'm saying
Okay.
the day before, like,
Uh-huh.
we had to do it earlier.
Okay,
the
that's
week before.
okay. This year was
Yeah.
special. Anything else? Did anyone have trouble with the Shabbos early meal with the chametz? Did it make anybody nervous, or was it okay?
No,
No.
It's fine. Okay.
We
Okay.
go
And,
pizza 8 p.m. 8 a.m.
was everyone prepared for Pesach from everything that was learned? Was everything no surprises? Okay. And did anyone have a chance to make a bracha over the budding trees? Okay, so there is a list in Crown Heights where there are different fruit trees. There's on the desk downstairs. There's copy here. I have gone to botanical gardens. There is a section that is for fruit trees, and they're budding beautifully and made a bracha there. So you have on this page, you also have the bracha itself. It's without nekudas, without the nekudas. You do have it in the siddur. There is should be in the siddur the bracha for the budding trees.
So when you can make the bracha?
We do it throughout Nissan, so we still have. Okay, now Salting meat on Shabbos to extract the blood, that cannot be done. And this is, again, something that cannot be done on Shabbos. Just as a side thing, in order to be able to cook meat, the blood has to be extracted beforehand. There are two ways of doing it. One is salting it, soaking it first, and then salting, and then washing off the salt solution, whatever it is. So you only have a chance of 3 days from the time of slaughter. You have 3 days in order to salt it, or you make the meat wet again, so it keeps it fresh, and then you can still salt it within the next 3 days. So the salting itself could, someone who did not, again, the butcher shops, at one time everything was done locally. It was not done commercially in the plant. At one time, so within 3 days, if it came out on a Shabbos, you couldn't salt it, so someone would go into the butcher shop and make the meat wet, and then give them another 3 days in order to salt it. Just a side thing. Okay. Now, the next. So now we have the hide has been prepared. It is preserved. It is now made oiled and preserved. And now you're ready for the next step, which is smoothing. All of the hide, the hair is all removed. And they keep scraping it until it becomes a smooth surface. Doing that on Shabbos is the malacha. Page 262. Spreading a solid like wax, tar, fat, or other materials in order to smoothen it, that is a malacha. Removing the outer layer of a utensil by rubbing is a malacha. Rabbinic prohibitions which are derived from smoothing are stopping the hole of a barrel with wax, because we might smooth it, to attach a bandage with ointment on a wound out of concern that one may spread the ointment on the bandage. So, okay. Now, how does it apply to us? So we have here 3 items. This is an ointment for dry skin. And you see that it is semi-solid. If I were to put a pencil inside and put it away, what would remain? The hole would remain. In other words, taking this and smoothing this on the surface is a malacha. It's a Torah prohibition. We have Vaseline, other types of these types of ointments that are semi-solid. So this is a Torah prohibition. And the test would be if you put a pencil inside, you take it out, the hole stays, doesn't sort of close back up again, then it's a Torah prohibition. Then we have the next. Then the next consistency is we have something that is not as solid as this, but it does have body to it. Here, if I were to put my pencil inside, this closes back up again. Does not stay. So this is rabbinic. This is also anything that the consistency of this, to use this, smooth this. This is a prohibition. It's forbidden. This is a rabbinic prohibition because it is semi solid, because it does have body to it. Now we have the fill. Let's see what happens here. Here, what happens to it?
Which one is it?
This one.
Running?
It's running. Okay. So here, this would be permissible. So we have, this is a Torah prohibition, this is the rabbinic prohibition, and this would be permissible. So something that is of this consistency would be acceptable. Now, there was another issue, if it's medicinal or not, that is a lesson for itself. Or allowed to do things with to make medicine. So now, what happens if there is a situation what happens if there is a situation where it is needed, something of this sort? So what would be the solution? How do we deal with it? It's needed. So you just put it on without smoothing. This would be for baby a rash. So this is what
For
this will-
eczema? For eczema?
again, one would have to consult with a rabbi about that. Is it something already that is it you're trying to prevent or you're trying to heal? There's a lot of issues in that. One would have to consult with a rabbi.
Because it's so dry that it bleeds.
I'm saying, so then you have to use something like this. You have these ones that are pourable. You have to find something that's pourable. This would also apply to when it comes to deodorants. Smoothing, again, if it's solid, so it cannot be used on Shabbos. Then what could be used on Shabbos?
Spray.
Spray or
Liquid.
this is a liquid. It's a roll-on. So again, this okay. This would be permissible. Again, it's a liquid. You hear it? You hear this? Now, again, it should not be a substitute for perfume. So that's that is a given. So again, something like this does not have any scent. You have some of the sprays that don't have any scent. If it's to remove a negative scent, then that would be not to make a positive scent. So having scented deodorants that are sprays or roll-ons would go into a delicate area of why are you putting it on? Why are you choosing this particular brand? Because you wanted to use it as promoting a nice smell. So one ideally would use something that is scentless. That would be the preferable way to go.
So you can use the Cetaphil liquids, like type, I don't know, cream for just like moisturizing
Yeah.
your face or Shabbos?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Oh.
You're going to speak about the face that is just to keep it moisturized,
Right.
but not for healing. For healing, that's a different issue. You'd have to consult a rabbi on that.
Particularly, you can put like olive oil on your hands. It's a liquid.
Again, if it's not chapped, if it's not bleeding,
No, just to
yeah,
moisturize.
yeah. Okay. Now, so spreading these things out are malacha, depending on what kind it is. How about on food? You want to spread butter on a roll, on challah, an issue. Okay, when it comes to spreading foods, that's fine. You could put a tuna, egg salad, spread out, peanut butter, all of these things could be done for the purpose of eating.
If you want to put some kind of oil on your hair for Shabbos, can you do that?
That would be another issue. No,
Oh.
because you're making your hair wet. It's making it so.
No, like an oil.
I know, but it's something it's moist enough to transfer moisture from one area to another. So you would not, you could use dry shampoo but not the oily. Okay, it is interesting over here on 262. You could spread butter or on food.
Where you can't.
You may spread butter on food, slice of bread. However, if this is the second paragraph on spreading food. However, if the action of spreading is not for the purpose of preparing food, such as when spreading butter or margarine on one's lips, or in a burn, it's forbidden because it's prohibition of smoothing. So here, if you're using it on food, as a food, then it's fine. Using it as a, again, butter would be go into this category. It's a solid. You're spreading it instead of a cream. You cannot spread it on your lips.
Can you tap it?
Oh, your lips.
Your lips, not on lips. Also not. No. Not with butter. You can use the oil, but not the butter. Again, if your lips are in good condition, you just want to moisturize it, then you can use the oil.
What about like peanut butter and chocolate spread?
Again,
Peanut butter and chocolate spread, can you?
yes,
Any bread?
yes, it's fine. So when it comes to food, you speak about the solids, or the butter is a solid, the peanut butter with the chocolate is a solid. These are all acceptable. These are fine. Okay. So read. This is chapter smoothing. That's the smoothing, page 261, and read the chapter and then go to the next. Go to the next. 261 through 275. Okay.